Hey guys, today is the start of our new unit, and we're going to start off by talking about the laws of exponents. Now, you've seen exponents before. An exponent is just whenever we have our base number, and then our exponent is up here telling us how many times we're going to multiply my base together. So, for instance, 4 to the power of 3 equals 4 times 4 times 4, which, of course, is 64. Now, a lot of times in mathematics, we come into situations where we have to multiply numbers with exponents together. We have to add, we have to divide, we have to subtract, all of this to our numbers with exponents. So we're going to go through some rules today to help us decide what happens whenever we do that. So our first thing we have, whenever we multiply them together. So whenever you multiply exponents together, we're actually going to add them together, okay? Because, take a look at this, a to the m times a to the n. This is going to equal a to the m plus n. We're going to add our exponents together. For instance, we have 2x to the fifth times 3x. Well, we're going to take my whole numbers in front and just multiply them together like normal. 2 times 3 equals 6. But then I have x to the fifth times x. Well, I want you to think about what this means. This x to the fifth means x times x times x times x times x, right? And I'm multiplying another x to it. So really, all I'm going to do is add these together. This is x to the fifth. This is x to the first. I'm going to add these two together, so I'm going to get 6x to the 6. 5 plus 1 is 6, and I have 6 x's multiplied together. Okay, a similar idea happens when we divide. Whenever we divide two exponents, a to the m divided by a to the n, that's going to be, we're going to subtract. So this is going to be a to the m minus n. So take a look at this, for instance. We have 2 over 6. Okay, that's just going to be 1/3. All right, now x to the 8th over x to the 3rd, we're going to subtract those. Now this only works whenever we have the same base, but we do have the same base, x, and x to the 8th divided by x to the 3rd is going to be giving me x to the 5th, because we're going to subtract these two. 8 minus 3 is 5, so we're going to have 1x to the 5th. Now, we don't have to write the 1 there, right? We could rewrite it as x to the 5th over 3. Doesn't really matter. Okay, let's take a look now. What happens when we raise an exponent to another exponent? Well, in this case, everything's just kind of taking a step back. Whenever we multiply them together, we add the exponents. Whenever we divide, we subtract. Whenever I stack them on top of each other, whenever I have an exponent on an exponent, we're going to multiply them together. Okay? So whenever I have a to the m to the n, that's going to be a to the m times n. So here, the whole numbers work just like normal. Okay? We're going to square it. We're not going to go 5 times my exponent. We're not going to go 5 times 2. We're going to go 5 to the power of 2, which of course is 25. And then x cubed raised to the power of 2. This time we're going to multiply those two exponents together. And 3 times 2 is 6. So we're going to get x to the 6th. Okay. A question you're probably wondering is what happens whenever we have a negative exponent? Well, a negative exponent actually creates a fraction. Yeah, you're right. A negative exponent actually makes a fraction, as weird as that may seem. So if you ever have a negative exponent, we just flip it. So if it's in the bottom, we're going to flip it to be on top. Usually it's on top, and we're going to flip it to be in the bottom. For instance, a to the negative m, we're going to flip that and write that as 1 over a to the positive m. Okay. Now, x to the negative 5 right here. This negative 5 does not apply to that negative 2, so we're going to just have that negative 2. Then we're going to have x to the negative 5. That x to the negative 5 is going to be now x to the positive 5 on the bottom, because we're going to flip it, and my negative 2 is going to now be on top. So if you ever have a negative exponent, think I'm flipping it. I'm flipping that exponent. Just like when we did inverses, and we had f to the negative 1x, that just meant that we were flipping everything. Okay, let's take a look here. 1 to any power is 1. Doesn't matter what the power is, it's 1. Anything to the 0th power is also 1. So if you see anything to the 0th power, That's also 1. Distributing the exponent, so we can have just like this one here, we can have our exponent be distributed to both. So like look here, if I have negative 2 raised to the power of 3, that's negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. That's going to be negative 8. X to the power of 3 is going to be x cubed. If I have negative 2 squared, negative 2 raised to the power of 2 is going to be a positive 4. So we're going to have 4x squared. Notice how these are different, right? Whenever we cubed, we keep my negative. So if you have negative raised to the odd power, it's going to stay negative. However, if you have a negative raised to the even power, it's going to switch to positive because those negatives are going to cancel out. All right, let's break down some of these for ourselves now. So let's take a look here at number 1. And we're going to start off with number 1, and we're going to take a look at this guy, r to the 0th power. Remember, anything to the 0th power is 1. So r to the 0th power equals 1. So we can just kind of ignore it. So I'm just going to start over here, 3p to the 4th, q to the negative 1. Okay, next step. I can't multiply any of this together because I have different variables. P times Q doesn't work, okay? We just write them beside each other. And there's nothing really else that I can do except I have this guy right here, Q to the negative 1. That Q to the negative 1, we're going to have to flip it. So we're going to flip it to be 3p to the 4th over Q to the 1. Anytime you see a negative exponent, we either need to flip it up into the numerator or down into the denominator. And guys, that's going to be simplified. That's all we got to do there. Same idea for number 2. Number 2, we have 3rq negative 1. I can't multiply those together. We can't do anything really. So what we're going to do is all I have is this q to the negative 1. We're going to throw that in the denominator. So it's going to be negative 3r over q to the positive 1. And I don't even have to write the 1 there, right? We could just leave it like that. All right, let's take a look at number 3 here, okay? So number 3, we're going to be multiplying these together. So we're going to multiply my whole numbers together. We're going to multiply each of the same type of letter together, okay? So start off. I have an invisible 1 right here, so we're going to multiply. Negative 1 times negative 3 is going to be a positive 3. Okay, then we're going to multiply my a's together. You have a to the negative 6 times a to the 3rd. So remember what happens when we multiply variables of the same type together. We add their exponents. So we're going to go negative 6 plus 3. Negative 6 plus 3 is going to be negative 6. This is going to be a to the negative 3 because negative 6 plus 3 is negative 3. Next, my b. We're going to have b to the 6 times b to the negative 2. We're going to add those exponents together. So this is going to be b to the positive 4. All right, now notice here, I have this a to the negative 3 there. That has to go to the bottom. So we're going to rewrite this as 3b to the 4th, and since I have a negative, it's going to go to the bottom, so we're going to have a to the positive 3 on bottom, just like that. Okay? All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look at our last problem here, number 4. We have 4nm to the 4th over nm to the 0th and p to the negative 4. Okay, so we've got a lot going on here. First off, this m to the 0th, I can just kind of cancel that out, right? That just equals 1. So let's rewrite this as 4nm to the 4th over np to the negative 4. Okay, and we've got a lot going on. First off, we have these n's. I can divide these. If I go n divided by n, that's just n to the 0th, or just 1. And so these two cancel, right? So they cancel out, and I can take this p to the negative 4, and I can move this up. Since I have a negative exponent, I got to flip it, so I got to move it up. So we get 4, my n's cancel, I have m to the 4th, and I have p to the 4th because I had to move that p upwards. Okay? All right, let's turn the page. Let's take a look at some of these ones that have exponents on top of exponents and and so on and so forth, okay? So we're going to work this out step by step. So first one, we're going to start on the top. We're going to take each one of these and raise them to the power of 3. So I'm going to go 2 to the power of 3. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. X to the negative 3 to the power of 3. Remember, we multiply our exponents if we have them stacked on top of each other. So I'm going to go negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. So we're going to go x to the negative 9. Then y to the 4 to the 3. 4 times 3 is 12. So that's going to be y to the 12. Okay, so that's all my stuff on top. Now let's figure out our stuff on bottom. We're going to go 4 squared. Okay, that's 16. X squared, well remember there's like an invisible 1 right there, right? So it's going to be 1 times 2, so it's going to be x squared. There's an invisible 1 after this y as well, so we're going to go 1 times 2 is also 2, so that's y squared, okay? Then we can simplify this guy, okay? 8 over 16 can simplify to 1/2. You don't have to put the 1 there, but I'm still going to for right now. Okay, then, craziness going on. X to the negative 9 divided by x squared. Now there's multiple ways you can think about this. We can think about subtraction. Negative 9 minus 2 is negative 11. So I could write an x to the negative 11 right here. Or I could think, okay, let's throw that x to the negative 9 down to the bottom. Either way, I'm going to think about it that way. We're going to go x to the negative 9, and we're going to throw that x to the negative 9 down here to the bottom. Okay? So we're going to have on the bottom x squared and x to the 9th. Okay, then this y to the 12th and y squared, those we're going to subtract. 12 minus 2 is y to the 10th. Okay? All right, so last but not least, we need to combine these two. X squared times x to the 9th is going to be x to the 11th. So my final answer is going to be y to the 10th over 2 times x to the 11th, and I cannot simplify that anymore. All right, let's take a look at number 6. Number 6, we have a lot going on here. We're going to start off by distributing this negative 2. So this is going to be a to the negative 2 and b to the negative 2. And now I need to multiply these all together. Okay? And we're going to wait to throw those negatives into the denominator until we get everything combined. Okay, so let's multiply these together. First off, 15 doesn't have anything to multiply to, so it's just going to go right there. My a's, we have a to the negative 2, we have a to the 4th, and we have a to the 1. Remember, there's an invisible 1 right here. So we add them together, right? So 4 plus 1 is 5. 5 plus negative 2 is 3, so we're going to have a to the 3rd. Then we're going to add my b's together. We have a b to the negative 2 and a b to the negative 3. You can add those together. That's going to make b to the negative 5. And then to finish out my answer, this b to the negative 5 needs to go to the bottom, right? Because it's negative, so we need to flip it. So we're going to go 15a cubed on top, b to the 5th on bottom. Okay, our next one. This harkens back to when we did the heart method, right? We would simplify here and simplify here, right? So that's what we're going to do again today. We're going to start off by simplifying here. I'm going to divide, and we're going to divide both of the top ones by the bottom one. So we're going to go 14c cubed d squared divided by all this. So first off, 14 divided by 14 is just 1. Don't have to write anything for that. C cubed divided by c is c squared. D squared divided by d squared is just, it cancels, right? 2 minus 2 is 0. Anything to the 0th power is 1, so that cancels. Then we're going to go minus. You can divide here too. 21 divided by 14. That doesn't work out super evenly. It's just going to simplify to be 3 over 2. Right? Now you can write that 3 over 2 as a big fraction, or you can write it as a small fraction in front. We're going to do it like that. Then we can go c squared divided by c is just 1c, and d cubed divided by d squared is 1d, because we're subtracting each time, right? So there is that answer. All right, let's take a look at number 8. So number 8, I'm going to start off by distributing this 2. So 5 squared is 25. A to the negative 2 times 2 is a to the negative 4. Okay, and we're going to multiply that by all of this over here. Now, remember, any number is just itself over an invisible 1. So whenever we multiply fractions together, I'm going to put this over an invisible 1, and we're going to multiply the top together and the bottom together. So the bottom is real easy. 1 times 5 is 5. Now let's do the top. 25 times 2 is going to be 50. A to the negative 4 times a cubed is going to be a to the negative 1, because negative 4 plus 3, right? Negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1. And then I'm going to have a b to the negative 3 doesn't have anything to multiply to, so it's just going to stay the same, b to the negative 3. Then we can simplify. 50 divided by 5 is 10. But this a to the negative 1 and this b to the negative 3, both of these guys need to go to the bottom. So we're going to have a times b cubed on bottom of my simplified solution. All right, last two, number 9 and number 10. Number 9. We have 8x to the 4th, y to the 0. So first and foremost, that y to the 0 can just go away, right? We don't need that anymore. And we're going to go ahead and, since this whole fraction is raised to the power of a negative, we can do two things. We can either go ahead and multiply everything by a negative 1, or I can just flip everything. I'm going to do the second. So I'm going to rewrite this with a 2x on top and a y squared z cubed on bottom. Remember, a negative exponent means we are flipping it in a fraction. All right, so we're going to have 8x to the 4th over z times all of this. So first step, whole numbers. 8 times 2 is 16. My x's are going to multiply together. X to the 4th times x is going to be x to the 5th. Then my y doesn't have anything to multiply to, so it's just going to be y squared on bottom. And then we're going to multiply my z's. Z to the 3rd and z are going to multiply together. Remember, there's an invisible 1 right there. 3 plus 1 is 4, so this could be z to the 4th. And then that's my answer. I'll just rewrite it with all one color. 16x to the 5th over y squared z to the 4th. And I cannot simplify this anymore. Our last one, number 10, we have a negative exponent once again. And that negative exponent is going to flip everything. But I'm just going to go ahead and show you the other way. Since I just flipped this one, I'm going to go ahead and distribute this negative 2. Okay? So we're going to go negative 3 raised to the power of negative 2. That's going to be negative 9 to the negative 1. Still has to keep a negative right there. Okay? And then 3 times 3 is 9. Then x to the negative 3. X to the negative 3 to the negative 2 is going to be x to this positive 6, because negative 3 times negative 2 is going to give me a positive 6. Y squared to the negative 2 is going to be y to the negative 4, because 2 times negative 2 is 4. Then x to the 4th times negative 2, that's going to be x to the negative 6. And then y to the 3rd to the negative 2 is going to be y to the negative 6. Okay? Sorry, I messed up here, didn't I? This isn't negative 6. This should be a negative 8. All right. Then we can just move things around now. So we're going to move all of my negatives to the bottom, and my positives going to stay there. So this negative 9 to the negative 1 is going to go to the bottom. This one's going to go to the top. This one's going to go to the top. And this one's going to go to the bottom. So we're flipping everything around. So on top, we're going to have an x to the 6th, an x to the 8th, a y to the 6th, and then on bottom, we're going to have a negative 9 and a y to the 4th. Whenever you move it, it changes. It changes from being a negative. Then we're just going to simplify and combine. X to the 6th times x to the 8th is going to be x to the 14th. Okay? y to the 6th divided by y to the 4th, we can subtract. 6 minus 4 is 2, so that's going to be y squared. And then we just have a negative 9 on bottom, and that's going to be my answer. That one was a bit tricky. It probably would have been better to switch first and then distribute the squared, and then try to simplify. So keep that in mind when you see some on your homework. All right, guys, thank you for paying attention. I'm excited about this new unit. I hope you are too. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks, guys.